Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Nashville-based jazz saxophonist Jake Botts. On December 2nd, 2022, he released his first full-length studio LP, Global Works, showcasing dozens of Nashville's most in-demand instrumentalists. On this debut LP as a solo artist, it is a cerebral, introspective, dark, and thought-provoking project with dozens of textures. He's a 30-year-old with plenty of road scene and much more to come. Enjoy this interview.
It's good to meet you, man. Thanks for taking a minute out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for talking to me. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, I think right now, probably especially being a musician, looking at March 14th on a calendar probably brings back PTSD because of 2020. But
oh my gosh, I didn't even put that together. You're exactly right, though.
I'm sorry I did that to you. Man, dude, I remember when Prince died, I was interviewing a couple of musicians that were in a band. It was a band from Kansas City, and they were on their way to Oklahoma. And I just assumed that everybody knew about Prince dying. So we're in the conversation. I think about halfway through, I said, "Yeah, you guys Prince dying today," and they all the whole place got quiet. And I was like, "Oh no,
man,
yeah." So they were all in shock. So I made a commitment. I don't care if I knew this person was gone and the person my wife even didn't know for a week. I'm not saying anything about anybody dying anymore. I'm out. That's not a business. I'm done. See you later.
I hear you.
Somebody else can do it. So anyway, so we're in an era right now where things are opening up. But if you look back to that time, that last 3 years, how did you survive it? How has it changed the way that you conduct business and do things now?
You mean just from an artistic standpoint or a musical standpoint, or in what sense?
I think it's intertwined. I think it's all about who you are as a person and how that works for you as a musician.
Well, I definitely have like a renewed sense of gratitude, every time I get to play. And I felt like as soon as those first few gigs came back out of COVID, I had a renewed sense of gratitude, and I thought that it would dwindle, and it still hasn't yet. So I'm hoping that just gave me a new lease on my musical life. Not that I was taking stuff for granted beforehand, but there's just like this extra, I'm just excited when I'm in a room playing music with people. You know what I mean?
Global Works is a brand new album. It has to feel good with live music opening up. The world's in a different place. Just in general, how does this release feel?
Well, it's my first release. This is my debut record. So I don't have anything to compare it to, but it's been a long time goal of mine to have my own music out. It was a really hard thing to do, because the whole record is I didn't use any label or any financial help from anybody. It was completely produced, independently and financed independently through a working musician's salary, So I have a huge sense of accomplishment with it, and creatively, I feel like I was able to, really express myself through it, and I took my time with it, and I had a lot of collaboration with people that I really respect and admire. So overall, I'm just really joyful and happy and grateful that it's out.
So, I know that you're 30, and I know that, that's not old and it's not young, but do you feel like you're late in the game for this? Do you feel like it's at the right time? How do you feel at this point in your life with your age and where you're at for this release to be like your voice, your initial shout into the world of recorded music?
Man, yeah, I suppose it is a little bit late for a lot of a lot of artists are releasing music when they're in their 20s and even college age and stuff like that. And I've put out little projects here and there, but the reason I really call this my first, release is that I feel like I did this in sort of a different caliber of professionalism, and this is the one that I've really committed to as a long-term project. I don't know. I guess to answer your question, I feel really comfortable with where I'm at with it because I know that I couldn't have made this record when I was in my early 20s. I just didn't have the same influences, the same wide-ranging influences. I didn't have the same ear from a producing standpoint. I wasn't as developed as a saxophone player. So I feel really comfortable with it. And it's funny also that you bring up the age thing. Like, it was always a goal of mine to produce and to record an album while I was in my 20s. And I actually technically accomplished that because this record, our final recording session was the day before my 30th birthday.
There you go.
So yeah. I kind of did it.
Yeah. No, I would say so. Yeah, for sure. So, let me ask you this. How did this music journey begin for you? How did the seeds of jazz get into you? Where were you born and raised, and how did all this become who you are now?
I was born and raised in Northern California, like 20 minutes north of San Francisco in Marin County. And, my go-to story is I heard somebody playing saxophone outside of a San Francisco Giants game, just like a guy busking. And I was with my dad, and I just said, I want to do that, essentially. I mean, I heard the guy play. And then, every time I saw, like, a saxophone on TV or in a movie, there was just something that was, like, so gravitational about it. And specifically the saxophone. Like, it wasn't like, I didn't feel that way about a trumpet, or I didn't feel that way about a whatever. Like, it was very specific to saxophone. I felt very, very moved by that instrument when I was probably, 10 years old, so I saw it through, and my parents eventually, after they realized that I was really serious about wanting to do it, they got me a horn to rent, and, the rest is history.
So what was the first live jazz show that you ever saw that blew you away?
Oh, that's a great question, and it's really relevant. I was just telling somebody about this the other day, but Yoshi's Oakland used to have a matinee thing on Sundays, and my dad would take me to shows there. And I don't know if this is the very first one, but it's definitely one of the first. But Joey DeFrancesco,
wow.
who, as I'm sure you know, just passed away probably, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
But, I have a really funny memory from that day when I saw him. My dad and I were, looking at all the photos on the wall of Yoshi's, because they have, framed photos of a lot of the bigger name performers that went through that club. And we were looking, and we found Joey DeFrancesco on the wall. My dad goes, "Oh, there he is." And then Joey comes up behind me, and he says, "Here I am." So I actually got to meet him when I was 10 years old, just super randomly. And I hadn't even heard him. This was before the show. And then I saw the show, and seeing that guy play live, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, it's wild.
So that was a special show.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I interviewed him probably, I would say about 3 to 6 months prior to his passing. And he was one of those guys, and it's just emblematic of all of the elder statesmen of jazz. They're so grounded and kind and good and talented, and you're just sitting there the whole time thinking, my God, you possess such a talent, but you're so humble and good. There was such a quality about him that I can't quite put my finger on. He was so good at just being a guy. Maybe part of it was the fact that his dad was an organist. He grew up around it. There's something special about the way that people that come from jazz DNA speak about it, because it's life, I come from the outside. I didn't discover jazz as just a listener. I'm not even a player until I was in my 20s, and it's like I'm bespeckled by it, like I'm watching, a big World Series game all the time. But it just seemed like for him it was just a part of being alive, which is unique and special,
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, I didn't know him personally, other than just meeting him that one time, but I've heard a couple of interviews with him, and you're right. It's true with a lot of jazz musicians. There's just this different, very attractive energy surrounding a lot of them. There's something, I don't know what it is, but I agree with what you're saying.
I always think about cats like Sonny Rollins and the late Dr. Lonnie Smith and Lou Donaldson, all of that, they all remind me of like the Jazz Jedi Council in Cloud City and Empire. They're all sitting up in this tower. They have this Jazz Jedi chloride in their blood, and they're like overseeing all of its minions trying to figure it out. But they have all the
absolutely.
answers.
I would add Wayne to that.
Uh-huh.
Rest in peace. And I would add Ron Carter to that as well.
Oh, we could jam that room so full of cats it would be crazy. It would be nuts, for sure.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So let's go into your life right now. And you know, at 30, you've been down a lot of roads, and I'm sure, especially being in a town like Nashville. And I'm curious, what is it about the music and being a professional musician that has consistently carried you through? What do you like the best about the process?
I like that, you know, as a musician, my life stays interesting. Like, I have so many different avenues to explore. I have, like, you know, in the world is my oyster. It's like I get to make what I want to make, and I get to collaborate with who I want to collaborate. Like, you know, for instance, last night I had like a monthly jazz series that's been, I think we're coming up on 5 years of consistently doing this every month, every second Monday of the month in Nashville at Cafe Rose. And, you know, I get to, like, you know, book a thing where I get to, you know, work on my bebop chops. So then I have another thing where I get to work on my funk chops. And then, you know, sometimes I get to tour with artists. Like right now I'm working with an artist named Corey Wong. And I'm playing baritone sax in that band. So I think what I really love about it is just the diversity of the things that I get to do.
So if you could see a dream jazz gig, Jazz DeLorean pulls up on the phone when we're done with the phone call, and you can punch the digits and go anywhere, see anybody, where are you going?
Ooh, man. What a question. Man. I think I gotta see like early 60s Coltrane. I think that's kind of like a given. I think I gotta see Cannonball. Cannonball is my guy. That's like, you know, I identify primarily as an alto player. That's sort of what my main voice is, and Cannonball has always been my number one guy. So I would have to see Cannonball. But I would also really love to go back farther, and I would love to specifically just go to New Orleans and see some of that really early stuff, like the foundational stuff, and kind of see how it started. You know, I also, you know, I can't skip over Bird. Like I should have said that first, you know, New York and the 40s. Yeah, those are my answers.
Or you could even come to Kansas City and see when Joe Jones threw that cymbal at his foot. That's when it all changed.
Oh yeah, that moment specifically would be pretty crazy to witness.
Yeah, that would be insane. Yeah, so basically you're going to get a Euro rail pass and make stops here and there. So, which is good to get through the annals of history for sure. So, you know, everyone out there has a perception of you. You know, you're releasing this album. It's your initial voice in the world of recorded jazz music. But at the end of the day, you embody somebody. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, colleagues, but you ultimately live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh, wow, what a question. I think that I am somebody who wants to create something that will connect with people. Yeah, I want to create something that will connect with people. I know as an instrumentalist, and I've learned this lesson early on, that automatically it will not connect with most people just by nature of being instrumental music. But I want to connect with people who are open to that connection. And whether that's through live music or recorded music, I want to create something beautiful, and I want people to experience that. That's always the goal. I don't always hit that goal, but, you know, that's what I aim for. So hopefully, you know, I just want to take beauty and I want to put my own spin on it, and then I want to put it back out there. In a nutshell, that's what I want.
Yeah, I dig it, for sure. So, Jake, if anyone out there wants to pick up your debut, learn more about live shows, anything pertaining to your world, where do they go?
So my website is Jake Botts. Last name is Botts. So jakebotts.com. And on that website, I have links to my music, and I have a couple of videos. And I usually try to keep the calendar populated, but sometimes it's hard. But definitely the bigger shows that I'm doing and stuff like that will be on there. And then for more day-to-day information and just for more, content, I guess, I'm really active on Instagram. And so my Instagram handle is @jake.botts.
Perfect, Jake, man. Thank you for opening up. Thanks for reaching out to Neon Jazz. I always love hearing the name Jeff Coffin. He's a great cat, so I'm glad that we got in touch and we could talk about the album. Good luck with it.
Thank you so much. And yeah, Jeff is definitely the archetype. We love Jeff.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest cats in Nashville, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Jake for his time, energy, and cool. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz archived interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube. For everything Neon Jazz, go to theneonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.